In this season of Lent, I encourage you to do some special reflecting in this period, not necessarily on what you can give up, but on how you can enrich another person's life. And this can come in different forms, but consider the last words you might offer to your family members or anybody else who's close to you. Then challenge yourself to make these your first words instead of your last words. Did you ever think of the tender words of love and encouragement and appreciation that you would offer to a loved one at the end of your life? The challenge is for all of us is to not hold off on what could have been said today, and by saying it today, it will have much more influence and impact on that loved one's life. A gentleman wrote in a Christian devotional, "As my mother lay dying, she spoke very little. Yet the words she spoke to me that last day of her life were powerful. In one short sentence, she gave me the words I'd waited a lifetime to hear. They were words of love and grace and affirmation." The question remains, not only for the mother who waited an entire lifetime to give her son words of encouragement, but for many of us who wait too long to share words of affirmation and hope with other people, often those closest to us. The question is, why did we wait so long? In a sense, Jesus had plenty of last words for his disciples and others who followed him, because for much of his teaching career, Jesus knew his end was near. The road into Jerusalem and the road to the cross were imminent, considering the social, religious, and political climate of his time. So there would not be a whole lot of time to deliver the words to not only the generations of that day, but to generations forever. Jesus in his final days touched a lot of lives with his final words. He told the religious authorities that they should concentrate on just one commandment. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second part of this commandment is to love one another as you would love yourself. There is no greater commandment than this, said Jesus. Some of the greatest final words ever delivered. Jesus had a lot to say in his closing days because he knew the threats were closing in and the end was right around the corner. We don't know ourselves if our end is near. That's why it's so important to say those words you've always wanted to say when you have the chance, and not let them be just your last words. They could be words of love, for instance, to your parents. Not too long ago, before my father's memory was taken by Alzheimer's, I took a long walk with him on a North Carolina beach and told him how great a father he had been to me and my brothers, how much I appreciated at times that he stopped what he was doing to listen to any issues or problems that we were experiencing. But it was important then that I tell him then that there still existed the opportunity, when there still existed the opportunity to tell him and not wait until it was too late. Moments for meaningful words to others may never come again unless you respond to the moment. Consider the last words you might say to a person, and instead take those last words and say them today. Jesus didn't wait around to say kind and encouraging words. He said them on the spot. He built the confidence up of the woman at the well, although she had a troubled and sketchy past. He gave the unethical tax collector Zacchaeus reasons to redeem himself instead of saying nothing. He told parables of the kingdom which lifted and encouraged people's hearts. The Sermon on the Mount was arguably the greatest dissertation on how to live your life in a fulfilling, meaningful, purposeful way. But the point is that Jesus didn't wait to offer these as his literal last words. He spoke them immediately. Instead of procrastinating, Jesus told Peter how much he valued his courage, his loyalty, and his tenacity. You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Jesus' final words to his disciples, read by David this morning, indicated that the Spirit would clothe them with power on high. And his final words in Matthew, read by Pam, told the disciples to go into the world and make disciples of all the nations, the greatest commandment of all time. Jesus wanted to speak these words now, and not later. Otherwise, they may be lost forever. You and I have listened to the regrets of people who have regretted that they didn't have the chance to say the words they always wanted to say to perhaps their father, or to their mother, or to their brother or sister, or to their spouse, or to their good friend, or to their teacher or professor or coach, or to their role model or mentor, or to their grandmother or grandfather. One of our members sent me an email several years ago, which I mentioned on another occasion. He said that in 1975, he and his family were saying goodbye to his father and mother one Sunday afternoon. He said for some reason, instead of just giving his father a hug, he simply said to his father, "I love you, Dad." Simple words of affection, but probably powerful words for his father. 3 days later, he received the call that his father had passed away. Your last words should become your first words. Paul wrote to Timothy when held up in a Roman prison waiting for his execution, "Do your best, Timothy, to come to me soon." We do our best when we offer the words sooner than later. We know that life gets busy with all its responsibilities and obligations and unrelenting schedules that help us to overlook very simple, very affirming words. If spoken as if they were your last words, could turn out to be one of the most precious moments in a person's life. When Jesus said the last should be first, he was saying it's not always the obvious ones who gain entrance into the kingdom of heaven. In other words, when you get to heaven, you might be surprised at who you see and what you see. You might be surprised as to who has checked into one of those rooms that Jesus talked about in John when he said, "In my Father's house there are many rooms." The surprise can come to those you love and admire the most if what might have been your last words turn out to be your first words. And now you and he or she can enjoy those words for the rest of your lives. But do not wait any longer, for the moment may pass. When we crossed the Irish Sea on an overnight ferry from Dublin to Liverpool, we were told that someone would knock on our door about 4:30 in the morning. That was our signal that we had about 30 minutes to grab our belongings, eat breakfast, to get our car, drive it off the ferry, or else you're on your way back to Dublin from whence you came. I remember lying in bed that morning, listening to the distant knocks on the doors down the hallway, the knock getting louder and louder as it got closer to my room. And then the knock finally came with the words, "It's time. It's time." Friends, today is the day to take what might have been your last words to someone special in your life and make them the words that you speak today. It's time to take what you might anticipate your last words and turn them into your first ones. Let us go to his table.